Hey, it's Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and it is Monday. It's June the 8th. This will be our chart lesson for today, and we're getting this done. I'm getting this done a little bit late today. I apologize. It's after 8 o'clock. Um, I had some stuff come up today, but I did want to come back and do one since we're not doing any on Fridays over the summer. So apologize. It's a little bit late, uh, but let's get through the trades and we'll go from there. Um, started out really rangy looking. This area right here, when it gets that flat and there's that much overlap and stuff, you're better off just to stay out of this thing. Um, there was a failed second. Notice this low first entry pullback second entry. There's a failed second entry short right there, but there's just so much overlap and such a big bar. If you could get in this with a limit order, um, a tick or two back, you probably would have got out of that. But I'll be honest, I think you're better off just to skip that. And then there's another failed second entry long that you might have gotten short on, and you might have considered, especially this one right here with this big bearish bar. But I think you're better off to wait and see if you get a breakout pullback short, which comes right here. So I think you're better off just skip that right there. It's too unpredictable. Um, Unless you got in on this first failed second entry short, I could see you wanting to enter that one. But I would have used a limit order. And if you did get in it and you didn't use the limit order when it got hung up right here and just couldn't go enough to get you your 4 ticks, I would have exited that thing because it should have went higher from there. And that was your first clue that the market's weak today when we couldn't bounce off this double bottom and go higher. That's telling you that something is going on. So just understand that. But let's back out and talk about the other trades. There's not that many today. It was a little bit slow. There's good movement, but there just weren't a lot of setups. So, but the first one I saw was right here. Um, Notice this double top. You can count that as a new high, pullback, first entry, pullback, and there's a second entry long right there. And then it actually kind of pulls back a little bit and then gives you a second entry long counting off the low, but it never breaks lower until way up here. So when it tried to go up and it came down right off that trend line again and it went higher and then went lower, I would have went short right there. And you could have treated this, you really could have gone short here and treated that like a breakout pullback short. But we just come off the low side. Um, And really, at one time, I had the midline a little higher, and I thought the trend line was here, but I shifted all this lower. Um, so I just don't think that was a good setup right there. It is a nice bearish bar. I probably should make that one green. I'm just going to go ahead and make it green. I didn't like the setup, be honest with you, for a couple of different reasons. It's kind of in that mid area, but that is a nice bullish reversal type bar if you had that kind of bar. Then you make the double bottom, you pull back, there's a first entry, and then it goes higher. And you can't go long there because of the trend line, so just sit tight and you get that failure. And that is a huge, huge bar. So you might have considered entering this with a limit order. And you see it went lower and came back, and you probably could have even got filled on this bar a tick back into this thing. But even if you're not, it comes back and gives you another chance to enter, and you can get in there on the second entry. But if I was in here when it came back again, um, I would consider adding on here, and I would be looking for a measured move. There's your first leg. I'd be looking for a measured move, and there it is, almost a perfect. It actually went one tick further. You might have considered exiting near this double bottom here just in case, but if you went for the measured move, you would have got a couple more ticks. And then there's a breakout pullback short, but I wouldn't go short right there. There's too much overlap, and it didn't close on its low, and usually will fail. So I would have at least waited on the second entry, and then it came, and but by that time you had all that overlap. So I would have just sat tight right there. If you did enter that one when it got hung up here and started reversing, I would have went ahead and taken what it would give you. But I don't think you want to enter right there because it's just too much strong support. And generally, if anything, you should have been looking for a possible long. Um, but again, I don't see a good long setup. It's having a hard time breaking higher. This one would have worked, uh, but I don't think you want to take that. And then it works down, and then it gives you a first entry, pull back, and the second entry. This one is the one that's really tempting because now the support's holding in there. You can see the last couple of closes, but you got to go long right into a double top basically right there. And this is a huge bar, so you've got to enter with a limit order and try to get in a little bit further back. And when this turned back down, I don't think I would have hung on if I had have entered there with a limit order or entered up here. I probably would have exited. But again, I think look how flat that is. Look at all the overlap. It's not going lower. It's not going higher. Um, I think you're better off just to sit tight and wait. Um, the only place I might have considered here is because now you went lower than this last low, and you got a first entry, and you pull back, and there's a second entry, and that's not a very good signal bar. But look at that one. That's the kind of signal bar you want to see. And I don't think you probably could have got in that with a stop. It was too quick. So I think you're better off just to wait. And then it tries to go higher once. It breaks lower one more time. And it tries to go higher again. And then you get a nice breakout pullback short with a nice bearish bar. I like that one. And that's basically right off the trend line. The trend line's probably a little bit steeper than that. I don't have it quite right here. Let me get this trend line right. It's probably more like that right there. You can see that fits a little bit better there. But notice that second entry short right there. Pull back first entry, pull back second entry. And you do get a close outside there. We missed this one. I like that one just for the breakout pullback short. And then this close is so close that you just got to, you want to play that one by ear. I wouldn't necessarily look at that as a possible reversal because you don't know if it's, if your trend line's exactly right or not. If it's close, it's so close. But I definitely like entering right there on that second entry. It's not a perfect bar, but there's enough reason to think we're probably going lower. I would have been looking for a couple of things here. I would have looked for a measured move just like this. You can see we actually went a little bit further than that, but I would have been looking for that measured move, and I would have measured this one, and I would have been looking for one right there. And you see we actually got a measured move to here, and then it reversed and went down one more shot. But I like that one for the breakout pullback short. And then this is a little trading range. Look at all that overlap. And so you actually, you would have wanted to consider entering there, but again, you got 1, 2, 3 overlap just a tad higher. But when this fails, you definitely don't want to go long there. And when it breaks higher there and turns back down, I like that one. I probably would have, when it broke lower there, you might have considered a limit order, but you probably would have got left if you did, unless you entered real quickly. I would just consider a break below that. The fact that we're probably going to make that next leg down, that next move down, and you're looking for the bigger measured move from back over here, and plus the one equal to this leg going lower. And this turned out to be a really good trade. And then you get a failed second entry long right here. You actually got a new high. You actually have a new high here, and then pull back first. And you pull back, and there's your first entry long. Actually, let me start over. You got a new high here. You pull back. There's your first entry long. Pull back second entry long. It fails. So I like that one. It's tempting to go short right there, but look at all that overlap again. So just wait and see if you get a breakout pullback short. And again, it's almost right off the trend line. And another good trade. And I just didn't like going long up through here at all because there's been no break of this main trend line. So I think you just got to wait till prices get back up there. And there's actually a second entry short right there, but you aren't back yet. But look at this bar, and it's uh, you probably would have thought about using a limit order here. But when it's moved that far and it's that far away from the EMA for that long too, and it's right off that trend line, I'd put a stop there and just go with it. And then that got you right into the 2 o'clock hour. But you could have ridden this all the way down if you entered there. Any runners would have been safe, and you could have ridden this all the way back down. And I don't have it on there because it goes after the hours, but there's a trend line working right down through there. Another shorter term one. You can see it, and you get the break here, and then move to a new low, and then we bounce a little bit. And there just weren't a whole lot of trades today. There's 7 good trades, and then there's an aggressive one there, and there was a couple more in here you might have considered that were, possibilities. But it just got so hung up here. This is frustrating when it gets like this, and this is where it's best just to stay out so you don't get whipsawed over and over both ways. Just wait till the market starts trending again, which is here, and by being patient, you don't get chopped up in all this stuff. So anyway, there were some good trades today, and but you really didn't get the really good moves until late morning, and then you had to almost wait from about lunchtime till the day's almost over and to take that last trade. But it was real obvious where it was. It was right off that trend line, and wasn't that hard to find or anything. So, but some good trades today. A little slow, a little, you had to be a little patient. This is where patience, when it's like this is where you really have to be patient. And early on, I'll be honest with you, I was more interested in this trading range that I wasn't too sure about the down channel. It made more sense later in the afternoon because I couldn't make it fit really well on the low side. Um, so it didn't make real sense until later on the day when it went down. Once it went lower here, you want to find your midpoint and then get an exact measured move of that down here, and that's where you'd look for your bounce. And it actually went a little further than that. The market got overdone. So, but not much else we can say about today. So I'm not going. It's late. I'm going to try to get this uploaded real quick and get it out there for everybody. And I'm going home. So hope you had a good trading day. Hope you had a great weekend. We'll be back again to do it tomorrow. This is Mack with PriceActionTradingSystem.com, and we'll see you next time.